All right, I said I wasn't going to do it for a while or maybe ever, but I couldn't pass up a really good deal. So I did. I did something yet again to change the pedal board. But before we hop into that, let me go grab some coffee. So now that I've got some go-go juice, we can get talking. I have been wanting to switch to the Tonex for a minute, and I finally have a reason to. My Guitar Center was having a sale, so I officially have Tonex on the board, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I have to get them loaded in. I already got some captures. Looking really excited to get these things loaded in. All right, we're back. Another pedal board video. This is starting to be a normal thing, I guess. But yeah, basically, I was taking a student's guitar to Guitar Center to have them do some work on it. And I just always will step over and look at what they've got in the used booth and just see if anything cool catches my eye. Like, for instance, they had an original like V1 JHS Morning Glory, like the wider body ones, with like just the V, the T, and the D for like the volume, drive, and tone. I don't know. Sometimes you find cool stuff. I found the Bellstar there like that. I found the Blondie there like that. So, you know, sometimes you find cool stuff. Sometimes you don't, but it's always fun to look. While I was there, I peeked at the Tonexes because I saw that a lot of stuff was on sale. And so I peeked over at the Tonex ones, and they had them listed down to like $149 from like whatever they are originally, like $180 or $190. And so I was like, man, that's a really good deal. So I called a buddy of mine. I was like, okay, you went from ACS1. Actually, him and I had the same thing. We went from Iridium to ACS1, and then he went from ACS1 to Tonex. And I was like, is it worth it? And he was like, yes, totally worth it. Shout out Justin. Also had his baby yesterday. So amidst all that stress, he was willing to take my call. Didn't know that he'd had his baby yet. Wouldn't have called if I did know. Anyway, so I had some pedals I wanted to trade in, plus the ACS1 itself. And so it was a no-brainer. And I'm pretty pumped because I've wanted to do this for a while. And I don't know, some things about the ACS1 that I never really took advantage of. As much as I wanted to like play all these different amps during worship services, I never did. I always ended up playing what I knew I liked. And that was, generally speaking, when I did Benson AC30, Benson, and then Benson DC30. So that was my favorite set. I was running a Chimera and a matchless DC30 IR. And I loved the way that it sounded. But what I absolutely hated about the ACS1 was I didn't feel like I could really ever make tweaks in the moment, right? And so maybe that's not necessarily the case with this, but having two isolated pedals that independently control left and right feels nice. It better, it just, if not for anything, except for getting equal volume in case there's a little change. I am nervous about in phase or not. My DI does not have a phase switch. I have the older original stereo canvas. The new ones do have a phase switch, and so maybe I have to get one of those if I do run into problems. I'm hoping that because I got captures from the same place that, and they're high quality, that the latency isn't super crazy to cause any problems. We do run split stereo in our worship services, so they're never really summing our audio into like one speaker cone. Generally speaking, our guitars are panned left and right if you're in stereo. So shouldn't have an issue. I Don't know what I'm doing though. I know that these take USB-C, so I'm going to screen record my laptop and kind of show you through the process. But I'll kind of show you the updates to the board. I'll use my phone here. So first off, we did switch back to a a middle mounted volume. And then I was able to kind of finagle the cables. I got some new cables also, just ran out of one. And so I have to kind of do this weird stretch right here. But yeah, so right now we have the input going into the JHS little black buffer under there, which is like zip tied and dual locked. That goes over to the compressor, which goes into the war horn. And there's a reason why I did that first. Originally on the board when I had the black buffer right here, I needed the war horn to be first because of how far over the power supply or the power input was. Now that I don't need that, I may switch back to having this being the actual first thing in the chain. I haven't noticed a huge difference, but because I run this pretty clean right now anyway, so I'm running these two clean and these two dirty. So technically goes into this one first, then to Morning Glory, then to the Bell Star, then to the Not a Double, into the volume, which goes to the tuner, and then it goes into the chorus, the Blondie, delay, reverb, 2 amps, and over to the canvas, and then I've got my outputs right there. And then I had played with a little bit how I was going to have this set up. Originally, I kept everything as it was, where the little black buffer was right here and the canvas was pointing out this way, but I did not like how these were. I had them squeezed going this way, and then to ever access the USB-C ports, I'd have to move the reverb. So this way, it's clean, it's easy to access the foot switches. I'm not touching anything if I ever like overextend on the volume pedal. And then I do have access to the USB-C ports right there. And I think it looks pretty clean. So that is the current setup of the board. Yeah, so I guess this video is really gonna be more so about me loading the captures and kind of seeing how that process goes from start to finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get going. All right, I am downloading the Tonex editor right now. I hadn't done that yet. I had a very busy day. I did not know that this was gonna happen yesterday. And so when I got them, I basically had enough time to get it set up, and then I had to go home because I had a date planned with my wife. And so I have been itching to get this done. It's Saturday right now, and tomorrow we have a worship set. So I got to get this up and running. I did do a quick test to make sure audio was going through everything, and it was. But I have no idea what to expect. So I did go ahead and get some captures. They came highly recommended from a friend of mine who's used Tonex pretty much ever since it came out, and he swears by it. It's a guy named Samuel Coggin, and I'll go ahead and put his information on the screen. But he just looks like a dude that loves to play guitar, and from the guys that I know who know him, says that he does some very high quality captures. He charges like $15 per capture, and then that comes with lifetime updates. And so right now available, you can choose a Korg era AC30 with a 90s greenback. You can choose a Benson Chimera into a custom Benson ceramic speaker, a Fender ProSonic into a stock G10, 66 Bassman into a 100 watt Fane Alnico Blue, a JMI 36 into a 90s greenback, and then a JMI 36 into a JMI Blue, and then a Fender White Lightning. So I went, obviously, with the Chimera, and then I was trying to think through, like, kind of if there was anything I didn't like about my tone. And I did feel like with the DC30, or even when I did the AC30, there was a lot of like, sometimes like too much like sizzle or like high-end stuff, some of that chimey stuff. And it was doable, but it kind of made me wonder. And so we both agreed, I was talking to him, that the JMI with the 90s greenback would probably be the best blend for the 2 amps and running stereo. They would pair well together. So that's what I went with. I got the JMI with the 90s greenback, and the Benson Chimera. So those are what we're going to load in. I think for now, I'm going to use these in stop mode, not in preset mode. So I'll have on and off, because there have been some instances where I've ran my acoustic through this. I know it's crazy for this to be an acoustic rig, but just simply for the fact that I have my own clean, isolated DI box, I could throw some compression on there and maybe a touch of like light reverb, and a tuner. Really, the tuner was kind of the big deal. So knowing that I could turn the amps off, feels great. Sometimes I've also run a bass through this. I've just used one of the drives as a preamp and the tuner. So I don't really, like I said, with the ACS1, I don't really switch amps. So I'm going to start off with the stop mode, not necessarily running it with presets. And we'll see how that goes. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe I do. But that's all I ever did with the ACS1. And so I feel pretty good with that decision. But I'm genuinely excited. I hear nothing but good about the Tonex system. I love how small it is. I mean, it's crazy that two little pedals like that fit right there, and I've got a tuner below it. That's just nuts. I think one thing I'm also very excited for is the fact that I can do USB-C. The annoying thing about the ACS1 was the fact that it was micro USB strictly into Google Chrome, because Safari wouldn't load it. And to load the IRs, you'd have to power on and off the pedal. There wasn't any on-screen controls to affect anything the pedal was doing. It was literally the IR loader. And it just sometimes felt a little annoying because it was a little finicky to kind of dial it in. And so I'm excited to try this out and see what happens. So, all right, got to create an account. Of course we do. Hey, so I've got a little bit of an issue. Yesterday I came in and I bought 2 Tonex ones from you guys, and I traded in some gear, and when I left, the guy was like, hey, we don't know where the other box is. And at first I was like, okay, whatever, no problem. But everything I'm seeing says that I can't load or put any captures onto the Tonex without the card that's in the box.
Oh, without the registration on it? Okay.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you could just have someone look.
My name is Sarah. I will be the one that will be going and looking for this as soon as I am able to, once we complete our opening duties this morning, and I will give you a call back with the results one way or another, okay?
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right. Update. When I bought these, I didn't think this would be a problem, but the guy at Guitar Center was like, hey, we can't find the other box. I was like, it's fine. I'm literally putting them on the board today. It doesn't really matter. I didn't know that there was a registration card in the box, and that's the only place to get the serial number, which feels slightly ridiculous. I'm just going to be completely honest. So that means I can't work on one of these pedals because I only have one registration card. And I don't even know if that attaches to a certain pedal. So I called Guitar Center. They said they're going to look for the other box and try to get me a call back with the information. Okay, so it's been a long time since I've talked, I feel like. We finally figured out where to download the program. That was kind of confusing, but we got it. I'm now updating the firmware on both of the Tonexes. They're both coming up, so I'm curious if I'm able to still load stuff if they're not registered. So maybe Google was wrong. But we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot, kind of dive in here. Okay, there's one. All right, one has been loaded, and then we're gonna put the JMI on the other one. Cool. Okay, so now we actually get to start playing. All right, I gotta go do something real quick. I didn't realize what time it was, but I will be right back. All right, we're back. I finished my coffee, so now gotta pop open probably the best zero sugar soda out there, Pepsi Cherry. That is good. Well, while I was away, I was able to retrieve the missing Tonex registration card, though it doesn't appear like I need it because I've already started doing stuff with it. Got the amp, we got the cab, can turn on some compression. I can turn on modulation. That's so fun. Some delay. I could delay my amps. Some reverb. It's the biggest verb they've got. They got a plate. Probably good to go a room. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with the cab at all. Let's add a little bit more treble into that. Actually, I want to take mix down to 20. Let's do a little bit of tone tasting. Let's actually just bring it back to there. Hopefully it just saves. All right, switching over to the Chimera. All right, so I think we're pretty much ready. I like how we're sounding right now. We've got the Chimera on the right side and the JMI is on the left. And I, to the best of my knowledge, got them pretty much equally set up. So, little tone sample. I love it. All I'm really doing with the amps is running some light room reverb on them. And then the built-in compression. So far, so good, though. Yeah, let's do a little, I guess, playthrough on some classic tones, some worship tones, and kind of see how the board sounds. All right, so let's talk about, I guess, the Tonexes. First impression, they're definitely doing something different than the ACS1 was doing. I love the Tonex editor. The USB-C into my laptop, a game changer. The fact that it's its own thing, I don't have to run a specific browser, game changer. The fact that I can just go in and tweak through there, not having to like hit the alt switch and do these little fine tuning, I can do it all in here. Whether the compression on the amps is gonna make a difference, I don't know. I've heard a lot of guys talk about it. Just all the tweaking, right? And then the size, man. But whatever they're doing, it's definitely different. So much so that I've completely changed how I have all my drives set up. I have dialed back all the tone more in the middle. I'm not pushing as much. I'm not pushing as much gain out of the pedals anymore. Every single drive pedal, I pulled back. And so if you're in the market for a onboard system, two things I'd recommend is definitely buy two, because then you can run stereo. That's amazing. And then my DI, it does not have it, but I would get a DI that has a phase switch. I don't know if I'm phasing out right now with these. It doesn't feel like I am. Hopefully I'm not. But I just have to get a new DI, I guess if that's the thing. But if you have that, I mean, the fact that like literally on this board, I've got so much stuff going on. And if I wanted, I could have more amps loaded on these. You know, if you wanted to do presets. I remember when I first got into guitar, it was so difficult because this stuff didn't exist. And to sound good, you knew you had to run probably tube amps. And then to run them well, I mean, you had to run them loud. And so practicing was a nightmare. I remember I would spend hours in my dorm room practicing, and I would feel great about my tone because I was sitting right next to it, or the volume, I got used to it. And then we'd go and we'd play at these open houses, these big cathedral areas, these big stadiums, it felt like, and I could run it louder, and then I would to compensate, and it just completely changed. And I was always chasing tone. What I absolutely love about Tonex and ACS1, Iridium, and any other IR or capture-based platform out there is I am practicing at the same consistency. And because it's not up to failure of where I put the mic, or, you know, did my tubes blow, or all this stuff, I can practice in here and run through my monitors or plug my headphones in. And when I go out and I play in the sanctuary, I don't feel like I'm playing a different board. Straight guitar into a tube amp, like, of course there's a feeling that you cannot replicate. The feedback, I cannot put words to it as a guitar player. Maybe it's the resonance in the room, maybe it's the amp actually, like, you know, hitting my leg if I'm sitting on it or something, I don't know. But in the world of consistency, in the world of tone and wanting to sound the same and create identity in how you play, you can't go wrong with this. This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. So Tonex, super excited that I switched to it. Go get it, it's great. I'll just kind of walk you through the kind of final update. So Warhorn is first, a little bit of color. And then we got the Morning Glory. A little cleaner. Like I said, I probably could swap them now that I don't have to worry about the power output. The Bell Star. And then the Dada Dumble. The sustain is what's crazy. And then for the wet stuff, we've got the chorus. Kind of like a slow one. And then we've got the stereo Blondie. Mixing them is kind of cool. Delays, obviously, quarter note. A little bit of modulation. And then we got the dotted eighth. See, like even that, like I feel like that's really loud now, so I probably should like dial that back. But and then some cloud verb. I feel like there's like so much more low end response. This tone and those like two note chords always reminded me of the No Other Name song by Hillsong. Anyway, so yeah, that's the board, and I guess check back in. Comment below if you have any questions. Super excited. Tonexes are awesome, and there's probably so much more I need to dive in and learn, but I think it's a great pedal, and you should definitely check it out if you're interested in building a board similar or something like this. But yeah, check back in, comment below, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next time.